This is the second video for Excel Basics Part 2, and if you have not already, go back and watch Excel Basics Part 1, video number 1, so that you can see where we are at this point. So where we left off in the first video is we found the average for the utility costs in this budget table or chart, and we found it two different ways. We used the built-in formula in the formula's area, more functions, statistical, and average. And we also talked about how we can highlight the items we want to know the average or the mean of, and we can just see the average right down here at the bottom, as well as the count and the sum. But there is another way that we could do this. Instead of relying on built-in functions of Excel, we could actually build our own formula or function to be able to calculate the average. And to demonstrate this, of course, if you're finding the average, I would personally use the actual average built into Excel. But the reason I want to show you how you could build this by hand is because you can create your own formula for whatever it is you actually need to calculate beyond simple averages. So we'll demonstrate this with the average grocery. So what you want to do is you want to highlight, in this case we're highlighting L10, and that's where we want our answer to be for what the average grocery cost is for this budget over the 5 months that are listed, 8/1 to 12/1. And so to begin, you want to, of course, click the box and then press the equal sign. And what this is going to do is this is going to tell Excel that this is a function that we're going to build out. So if you think about what it means to find the average or the mean, you would take the 5 numbers that we have, and they are going to be in B10 to F10. You would add them together, and you would divide by 5, or divide by the number of items there are. And so to simulate this, what we're going to do is we want to add the numbers together first. So since we want that to happen first, we're going to open a set of parentheses, and we are going to take the first item. Now notice, in our average grocery formula that we're building, it labels this as B10. It doesn't give you the number, it says B10. And the reason for that is, in the future, if we were to go back and again adjust this number 567.45, if that number were to change, this formula is automatically going to update given any edits to the items that we're using. And so that's why it's labeled this way. All right, so we're going to take each of these. So we take the first item, and then you just want to do the plus sign. So on my keyboard, that's the shift, and then plus equals. And then we want to add C10 to that, plus D10, plus E10, plus F10. And I'm just clicking on these items. I'm not having to hold down any buttons or hold down any mouse clicks or anything like that. So again, to find our average, you kind of have to think about what the formula for the average or the mean is. You first add your 5 items together. So let's go ahead and close our parentheses because that's the first step. And then we would divide by 5. So now we can press the question mark / button on the keyboard, that is for divide, and we're going to divide by 5. And now we can press enter. And notice that it's going to give us a number. Now it's not giving us this number as a dollar amount, and it's not rounding it to 2 places, and so if we wanted to adjust that, we of course can use some of the principles from the first video, and we could click on this, the drop-down menu for number, and we could click on currency, and then that will adjust it to its 621.88 with the dollar sign, so it's kind of in line with the other items. We also can merge and center this just to make sure it's in the center of the cell, just like the other items. Now, you don't have to do that, but this is just to make it consistent. And so notice if you click on this cell, this L10, the first thing I want to say is when you look up in the actual argument formula bar, it's going to have the formula that you typed out. And so if you need to make any adjustments to this, you can. If you meant to do B11 instead of B10, you can just click right there and change it to B11, for instance, and it's going to give you that output again. Now again, if you're just trying to find a simple average, I would probably use the built-in formula because it's going to save you some time. If you're just trying to find an average one time, like one single time and then you're done, I would probably just highlight the 5 buttons and look at your number down here at the bottom, the average of the selected cells. But if you're trying to build a formula yourself, and again, this would be something beyond an average, you basically can just use mathematical operators, pluses, minus signs, divide, times, parentheses, and you can write out your equation. And again, the benefit here is that if any of these values in B10 to F10 are updated, your average is automatically going to update. And we could see that. I mean, we could change this value right here to, 5, 6, 7, 8. Press enter and notice that automatically changed. The most important thing, though, is to be sure to use an equal sign to begin with so that Excel knows that you are building a formula. So now let's look at one additional function or formula, and that's going to be the sum formula. And the reason we want that is because we have a monthly total row that is currently empty. And we are interested in completing this table that has our monthly bills in it. And if we want to know the total for each month, well, there are a couple of ways that we can do this. So the first and the easiest way, if we only had to do this one time and there were never going to be updates, we could just highlight all of the cells and we could see what the sum is right down here. Very small, but 32, 77, 17. And we could actually type this in here. But we can also use a built-in formula. And so for the sum formula, this is really commonly used. Basically what you want to do is you want to go up again to the formula button right here. You can click on Math and Trig, and then you can scroll down to where it says Sum. And this will use the automatic sum or addition, adding all of these values together function or formula inside of Excel. And again, we are trying to figure out the total sum of our monthly bills in August, so we can select the top one, hold Shift, and then select the bottom. So all of our different bill types are highlighted in the dotted green dancing line. Press OK, and that's going to give us that same number we saw a moment ago in the bottom right-hand side, 3277.17. Now, of course, we can build our own formula this way. You can click on this or leave it highlighted, and you can notice it says equals sum parentheses B4 colon B10 close parentheses. So we could always type that in, just change the B4 and B10 to C4 and C10, and we would get the same result. We can also build the formula ourselves, much like we did over here. So just to kind of practice that, we can press the equal sign, and we can open a set of parentheses if you want to, but in this case we're not dividing by anything, so I would just leave it as is. And we're going to basically click on each of these items. So we just want to add C4, C5, C6, click, plus, click, plus, click, plus, click. And right there, we can see the sum 3289.78. And we can check that to make sure we didn't do anything wrong by highlighting these cells, making sure that it matches this number right here, 3289.78. So we could do this for each of these columns, or we can use something from the Basics video number 1, or Basics part 1, the autofill. We can click on this box, and we can drag this over, and Excel is going to automatically detect what you're doing, and it's going to apply that pattern to the next 3 columns. And so we can see what's going on here. This is the one we built, adding the C4 to the C10. But look, it automatically updates this. It adds a D4 to D10, E4 to E10, and F4 to F10. So this gives you some tools where you could take a lot of information and you could start doing sums, averages, formulas, and then you can autofill those formulas across, as many rows or columns as you need, and it will save you a lot of time for calculations and for typing.